Next up, we are joined by comedian Jimmy Dore. Jimmy, welcome to the stream.
Hi, well, I hope everybody can hear me. Everything good? Everything's working correctly? All
Yes.
right, fantastic. So, we're living in an era of tech monopolies, and we don't have anybody enforcing antitrust laws. And so we all know that the way people communicate now in society is through social media apps. Basically, Facebook and Twitter would be the two biggest ones. And those are being controlled by Silicon Valley billionaires that are in bed with politically and economically with the Democratic Party and the establishment media. And, people make the point that these social media companies never wanted to have to do this. They never wanted to have to be the ones that were going to be censoring people. Where did this come from? This came from the establishment and the Democratic Party's lack of ability to cope with the fact that Donald Trump got elected. So Donald Trump got elected, and everybody was like, well, it couldn't possibly be neoliberalism and austerity. It couldn't possibly be the way we've ordered our society and the way we're going to do our economies. It couldn't be endless war, neoliberalism, and austerity. That couldn't be why people were so desperate that they voted for Donald Trump. No, it had to be Russia. And so the corporate news journalists, the lefty, quote unquote, lefty, corporate news journalists, started demanding that social media companies start censoring. And the Democratic Party started demanding that too. And members of the establishment started demanding censorship. And why is that? Why would they want to demand censorship after Donald Trump's phenomena? Because they lost control of the narrative. And they can't sell neoliberalism anymore. So that's what happens when you try to sell neoliberalism for 50 years. You get Donald Trump eventually. And so now they can't. They can't sell neoliberalism anymore. It can't be done. And so now what they're going to try and do is control the narrative, and that's happening through censorship. And they're going to do it. They have a pro-censor guy in the White House. They have a pro-censor politician. The leftiest of lefty politicians in the Democratic Party are super pro-censorship. So the people, the squad, are advocating for fascism right now. So they want you to be afraid of fascism, and their antidote to it is fascism. That's what censorship is. That's what you give the control of the narrative to the establishment. And has censorship ever helped anybody except the establishment, surveillance state, intelligence community, and the corporation? No, that's the only people that it's ever helped. So that's why this is super important that we do this. And if this could really work, it could be a game changer. So I'm not smart enough to know how any of this stuff works, blockchain or my rock, whatever. I don't know about that stuff. You guys do. And if Bill Binney's involved, you know that it's going to be secure. The guy is the smartest guy, code breaker guy in the world. So, and he outsmarted the FBI. So we need a guy like that around, somebody who can outsmart the FBI on the regular and is the world's greatest code breaker. So he's a part of this. That's why this is important. That's why this will probably succeed. It's important because it's necessary for all the reasons I just laid out. They used the war on terror to get rid of our privacy. They used I'm talking about in the United States. They used the war on terror to ramp up their surveillance state, and we now live in a unconstitutional surveillance state, an Orwellian hellscape. That's what we live in right now. They're throttling anybody who tells the truth about the war gets immediately called a conspiracy theorist and sanctioned, right? And they can immediately try to throttle their whatever it is. So I just got 4,000 people unsubscribed from my Twitter over the Capitol riot. I don't know what the hell I had to do with that, but that's what happened. They've been throttling the hell out of our YouTube. So the million subscriber mark is a big deal for a lot of people psychologically. And so they're trying to keep independent media from getting there unless you're on the corporate algorithm. So there's lots of people on the corporate algorithm who pretend to be independent media. They're not. People like the Young Turks or people who are on Comcast platforms who are also on YouTube. Those are not independent media. Those are corporate funded, and they're on a corporate algorithm, which is why they're allowed to get 5 million subscribers, but nobody watches their show. right? So I don't even have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, but I get 20, 30,000 live streamers at a time. And those people with 5 million subscribers don't even crack 10,000. So that's how the corporation is like, uses the algorithm to push corporate news and suppress independent news and ideas. And it's more important now than ever because, for instance, on YouTube, you're not allowed to talk about coronavirus in an unapproved way. It has to be pre-approved, and you can only use pre-approved sources, which is kind of like the death of actual debate. So if I'm only allowed to use sources that you pre-approve have the right information, what about when they're wrong? Isn't that the whole point of debate and free speech? And so we just went through where Dr. Fauci lied, and admittedly lied about the efficacy of using masks. He lied about that for a few months. Then he lied for like 5 months, 6 months straight about herd immunity and how many people would need to be vaccinated. He admitted I'm not accusing him. He said self-admitted that he lied about these things. No one cares. No one cares. They only care if Donald Trump lies because they only want to squash Donald Trump. They like lying. They like Joe Biden. He's a pathological liar. So they just want, again, this is all about controlling the narrative. And so that's why this is more important than ever, that we get something like this done. Again, they're using the last few days of Trump fear to try to cement new censorship. And if you're not for censorship, you're for fascists. I've heard even lefty news show hosts say that when you stand up for free speech, you're defending fascists. Those people people should be exposed. People who think like that. That's not a left wing. That's not lefty. That's authoritarian. That's not progressive. That's not lefty. That's not in the spirit of free speech. That's nothing. That's authoritarian claptrap. And anybody caught telling someone who's standing up for a principle, which is what we all are standing up for, the principle of free speech. And when someone smears you and says you're standing up for fascists, that person needs to be outed. So I don't mean to get off track here, but we need a new social media because this is it. It's all over. They did it. They used Trump to this fear of Trump and the fear of fascism to implement fascism. So that's why this is super. We super need this. There's going to be more neoliberalism. There's going to be austerity. There's going to be more censorship. There's going to be more authoritarianism. And the United States is going to slide into being Brazil, which we already are. There's people sleeping under there's an unbelievable rift between rich and poor. Anybody who has a job is living paycheck to paycheck. And that's why they need to censor. And that's why this is more important than ever. We need to have open, free discussion, not for especially in this time, and for thought leaders, because that's what they go after. They throttle thought leaders. They shadow ban them. Anybody who's got an idea, they're going to squash. They're going to censor in one way or another. So that's why this is super important. I just thank everybody who's involved in this, who's getting it done. I'll try to help publicize it, anything I can do. And it's just fantastic to see Bill Binney's face and him a part of this. So let's fight the man. Free speech.